In this video, we're going to learn how to make a simple logo. I'm going to make the Instagram logo using Illustrator. To do this, the first thing I have to do is create a canvas. In Illustrator, click Create New. Now make sure that your size settings are set to pixels. For the width of the canvas, type 800, so it's 800 pixels wide, and 800 for the height. When you're ready, click Create to create the canvas. Now we have an 800 by 800 pixel square white canvas, and this is where we'll create our logo. The next step is to create a square on your canvas. To do this, select the rectangle tool from the toolbar on the left-hand side of the screen. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the colour options for this tool. Change the fill colour by clicking on it once and selecting black. Click on the stroke box once and select the none box. This has a red line through it. Once you've done that, you can click on your canvas, and now you can click and drag to draw a square. While you're clicking and dragging, hold the Shift key. This means that your square will be a perfect square. You can see it's a perfect square because there's a pink line through it. This means that all of the sides are the same size. When you're happy with the size of your square, you can let go of Shift and let go of your mouse button. Finally, you want to click on the small blue dot in one of the corners of the square, click, hold, and drag the dot inwards to round off the corners of the square. When you're happy with the curve, release the mouse button. Now we've created our first rectangle, we need to make a copy of it. To do this, click Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste in Place. By pasting in place, we will place a second rectangle directly above our first in exactly the same position. Now we need to resize it, but if we try to resize it now, it will drag from one corner only. So we're going to click on the corner slider and hold the mouse button down, or trackpad button, and then hold Shift and Option keys on your keyboard together. While holding these keys down, drag the slider inwards and it resizes all sides of the new rectangle. Keep holding the Shift and Option key down and then release the mouse or trackpad button. Now you can release the keys and we have a new second rectangle. What we're going to do here for the time being is change the colour of the rectangle so we can see what we're working with. Change the fill colour to any colour for now. I'm going to use blue. And also change the stroke colour and choose white. We now need to make the border of this rectangle thicker. To do this, increase the size of the stroke by changing the number next to the word stroke by clicking the up or down arrow. I'm going to change this to about size 18. Now we have a nice white border around our rectangle, and we can change the fill colour of the rectangle back to black. We now need to draw a circle in the centre of our logo. Go back to the rectangle tool we used to draw earlier on. And now click and hold that tool and you will see lots of different options appear in a small menu. This means we can change between shapes and we need to pick the ellipse tool. This allows us to draw a circle or an oval. Click the ellipse tool and you'll see the shape of the tool change in the menu bar. Now before we draw the circle, we're going to hold the Shift key down so that it draws a perfect circle and not an oval. Hold the Shift key and then click and drag to draw your circle in the centre of your logo. Release the mouse or trackpad button and release the Shift key. You can see the stroke size or border is 18, just like we set it before. This is because Illustrator has remembered our setting from drawing the rectangle. Next, we're going to click on the Selection tool, which is the arrow in the top left-hand corner of the screen, and drag a box around everything. With everything selected, you can see the alignment options appear in the right-hand side of the screen. The third one along is Horizontal Align Center. Click this and it will place everything in the center. You might have seen a small shift on the screen. This moved all of the rectangles in the circle directly into the center of the screen. Move along again in the Align options and you'll see Vertical Align Center. Click this and it will align everything again in the center of the screen along a vertical axis. With everything now aligned, click the Selection tool in the top left hand of the screen. And now click anywhere on the grey background to deselect all of the shapes. We're going to add one last detail to the logo. To do this, click on the Ellipse tool again and draw a small circle in the top right corner of the logo. To do this, hold Shift and this will make sure we draw a perfect circle. With the Shift key held down, click and drag and draw a circle onto the logo. When you're happy with its size, release the mouse or trackpad button and release the Shift key. Then change the fill colour to white. You can also turn the stroke off. This will obviously affect the size of the circle. You can change the size again by just changing the colour to white and again increasing the size of the stroke until it's the size that you like. When you're ready, you can click the Selection tool and click anywhere on the grey background to deselect. Now we've created the basic Instagram logo. Once you've finished the basic logo, you need to make a copy of your work. To do this, click the Selection tool and drag a box around your logo. With the whole logo selected, click Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste. Click on the copy while it's all selected and move it to the side of the screen. We're going to need to use this later. You can now see if I move the slider at the bottom of the screen, I have two identical logos. With the Selection tool, click on the grey background to deselect the copy. Now click on the outer section of the logo. Now press the Delete key. I've pressed it once and it didn't disappear. Sometimes it does this. Click it a second time, press the Delete key, and it will definitely go. We're left with the inner rectangle and the two circles. What we're going to do here is highlight everything, again with the Selection tool. With everything selected, you'll see there is a question mark in the fill colour box. Click the question mark and select None for the fill colour. Click on the grey background again to deselect the logo. Now just click on the small circle one more time and change the fill colour back to white. When you're ready, you can click on the grey background and click again to deselect. Now focus back on your main logo. We're going to have to apply some colour now. To add colour, we're going to need to open some tools. To do this, click Window and select Colour. Click Window and select Swatches. Click Window and select Gradient. We can now arrange these by clicking in the top bar of each of these windows and drag them to the right-hand side of our screen. Once they're all aligned alongside your screen, we're ready to add some colour. We're going to add colour to our logo using a gradient. A gradient is when we have a series of colours that bleed into one another and move in a certain direction, a bit like a rainbow. We're going to add a gradient by clicking the selection tool and dragging a box around our whole logo so it's all selected. We're going to add a blue colour first. I'm going to click and hold the mouse button over the blue colour in my swatches panel at the top of my screen. With the mouse button held down, I'm going to drag the blue colour over the gradient bar towards the bottom of my screen. You can see there is a green plus mark that's appeared over the gradient bar. When you see this, you can let go of the mouse or trackpad button to apply blue to your gradient bar. If I click on the blue dot below the gradient bar, I can move where the blue starts. I'm going to place it at the far left or 0% in the location bar at the bottom of the screen, as you can see here. Now I'm going to choose a purple colour from the swatches panel. Click and hold and drag that over the gradient bar. I've now got two colours on my gradient bar. Make sure the purple colour is in the centre of the gradient bar. And then finally, I'm going to use a pinkish colour or magenta. Click, drag, hold, and drag it to the end of the gradient bar. Make sure this goes at the very far end of the gradient bar on the right, or 100% in the location. We've now added a gradient to our logo. As long as our logo is still selected, we can change the colours in the gradient by clicking on individual sliders so the buttons are highlighted. And then in the colour panel, we can select a different colour from the RGB spectrum bar. Obviously, I don't want to change these colours as I'm happy with the way it was, so I'm going to undo this change. The next thing we have to do is change the direction of the gradient. To do this, where you have the angle for the gradient, you need to change the number. You can change it from the list, but I know what I want to change it to right now. I'm going to change the angle of the gradient to about minus 70 degrees. When I'm ready with that, I can press Enter to apply the new direction. You can see the angle of the colours has changed. I want it to move more from corner to corner, and 70 looks like it's coming from the top. So I'm going to change this now to minus 60 and see how that looks instead. That's a little bit better. I'm happy with that, and the gradient is now finished. Now we've finished applying the gradient, we're going to add a final bit of colour. To do this, select the ellipse tool and draw a large circle in the bottom left-hand corner of your logo. Hold the Shift key when you draw this circle. This gives us a perfect circle. When you're ready, release the mouse or trackpad button and release the Shift key. Change the fill colour of this new shape to orange and make sure the stroke colour is set to none. Finally, click Effect and go to Blur, Gaussian Blur. Change the radius of the blur effect to about 20%. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. When you're ready, click OK. Now select the ellipse tool one more time, hold the Shift key and draw a second circle, a smaller circle, inside the orange one. We can use the selection tool to move it around and make sure that it's centered perfectly if it wasn't originally. Change the fill colour of this circle to yellow and turn the stroke colour to none. Again, go to Effect, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and change it to about 20%. You can just leave it to the settings remember from earlier and click OK. We now need to group our two new circles together as one shape. Click on the selection tool and then click anywhere on the grey background to deselect everything. Now, click on the orange circle, hold the Shift key, scroll over the yellow circle and click that one as well. Release the Shift key and select Object, Group. These two circles are now one object. The next step is to click the selection tool and drag a box around all of the logo. Now click Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste. Click on this new copy and move it to the left-hand side of our current logo. Use the scroll bar at the bottom of the screen to scroll over and view our new copy. Click on the grey background to deselect the new copy that we've just created. You may have to click a couple of times. Once it's deselected, click on the orange circle and then click Object, Arrange, Send to Back. It will disappear behind the main logo. With this still selected, press the Shift key, keep it held down, and click on the main logo so everything is selected again. Release the Shift key and select Object, Clipping Mask, Make. You'll now see the orange and yellow circle has just been applied to the corner of the logo. If we click, hold and move the mouse cursor around, we can see that the orange and yellow logo are now on their own as a single object. We can click on the main logo copy and press Delete, and delete each piece of this until it's all gone. We can now click on the original orange and yellow logo and delete those pieces as well. We can now scroll back to our new section of orange and yellow and we can drag that back over the main logo. When it's perfectly positioned, you can release the mouse button and the colour has been added. The final step is to scroll over towards the main logo copy we made earlier. Click on this or drag a box around it to highlight the whole thing, and then click, drag and place it back in the centre main portion of the logo. When you're happy with the placement, go back to the logo and now click Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. This will bring the white lines back over the orange and yellow spot. We've now created our own copy of the Instagram logo. When you're ready, click anywhere on the grey background to deselect everything and you are finished.